You can see that the hypotenuse is the longest side of the right triangle. This side is going to be what we call opposite. Anybody know why we call this the opposite side of the right triangle? Opposite of what? The angle. If you go across from the angle, you get to the opposite side. So watch. If I draw the angle, that's the angle, right? The angle is always made up of two sides, the hypotenuse and the adjacent. The adjacent means next to. It's the side that's next to the angle. Okay? The side that does not make up the angle is called the opposite. So, I'm sure many of you have been familiar with Sohcahtoa. I remember I was helping a student once upon a time. I was back, I don't know, it was like my sophomore or junior year of high school. A student needed help with some math. And I said, what are you guys doing? She said, we're doing right triangle trigonometry. I'm like, great, I can help you. And I was trying to teach her, and she said, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, well, how did your teacher explain to you? She said, well, we just use Sohcahtoa. I'm like, Sohca what? She said, Sohcahtoa. I had never heard of it before. In fact, I thought that she was talking about a different language. She was from Korea, and I thought that it was a word that they had used, and I was like, I don't know what you're speaking about. And she's like, everybody learns Sohcahtoa. I said, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. Here's how I learned it. The hypotenuse was the r value. The opposite side was the y value, and the adjacent side was the x value. So cosine was x over r, sine was y over r, and the hypotenuse, or the tangent, was y over x. That's how I learned it. Didn't we just do tangent is y over x? Isn't that what we did? That's how I learned it. But I learned people do Sohcahtoa, so now I understand. What is sine? Sine is the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse, which is just y divided by r. Cosine is the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. And tangent is the opposite side divided by the adjacent. And so this is an acronym to help you remember. Sine, opposite, hypotenuse. Cosine, adjacent, hypotenuse. Tangent, opposite, and adjacent. We will not worry about cosecant, secant, and cotangent at all. Okay. It says, find the exact values of we're just going to go 3 trigonometric functions for theta. We're going to put theta here. Given the legs of the triangle are 15 and 7. Whoop. And I'm sorry, you guys. I thought I had changed the problem, but I didn't. We're going to go 15 and 8. I thought I had changed that. So I'm going to write sine of theta. I'm going to write cosine of theta. I'm going to write tangent of theta. One of these we can determine from the picture already. Which one can we already determine? Yes. Close. Opposite and adjacent. Tangent. Very good. So we know tangent is the opposite. This side is opposite theta. This side is adjacent theta. And this is the hypotenuse. So which one is opposite over adjacent? That would be tangent. So tangent is 8 over 15. What would I have to find in order to do cosine and sine? How do I find the hypotenuse? Pythagorean theorem. 8 squared plus 15 squared is the hypotenuse squared. 8 squared is 64. 15 squared is 225. h squared. Anybody know 64 and 225? 289. I square root both sides. 17 is h. So if the hypotenuse is 17, what is sine? Eight over 17. Cosine? 15 over 17. Okay? So the first practice is to be able to write them like that. Okay? We all good? What I would like you to do right now is I would like you to do this example right here. The first one, not the second one. See if you can come up with sine of theta, cosine of theta, and tangent of theta. Please try to do those three. Okay? Take a couple minutes, see what you can come up with. Go. Once you figure out that side is 12, okay, say that the sine is going to be 5 over 13. The cosine is going to be 12 over 13. And the tangent is going to be 5 over 12. Should be review. It's from your geometry class. Doesn't mean it's easy. Doesn't mean you remember it all. You're going to turn to your worksheet. You now need a calculator. You cannot do the next part without a calculator. It is not possible. I would highly encourage you that for this one, that you focus again on a calculator that is not your phone, only that the phone operations are much more complicated sometimes when it comes to this. Okay? So, we're going to go over an example together. This is what you're going to have to do on the test. It says, solve the following triangles with the given conditions. Let C equal 90 degrees for all triangles. I'm going to call this 90 degrees. So therefore, it is angle C. It doesn't matter which one you then call angle A or angle B. I'm going to choose to call this angle A. I'm going to choose to call this angle B. Is everybody okay with that? Angle B is 32 degrees, it says. Notice how I have big letters and I have small letters. The big letters represent the angles. The small letters represent the sides. Side B is opposite angle B. Side C is opposite angle C. Side A is opposite angle A. That's the way it works in trigonometry. It's how we set it up to make sure we're all talking the same language. So everybody okay with that? All right, which side am I given up here? Which one do I know? C. C is 8. So what your goal will be on the test and on your final exam is you need to be able to identify all 6 of these right here. Okay? If you tell somebody you've taken a little bit of trigonometry before, they assume that all of you could do this. It is the fundamental piece. Turning degrees to radians and back and forth, fundamental. Finding terminal points, fundamental. Sohcahtoa, fundamental. So I know angle C is what? 90 degrees. That was super easy, right? What else do I know? Side C is 8. Angle B, 32 degrees. Folks, I get to this spot on the test, and I have students who won't even write down that much. And that's where I say, you're not trying hard enough. Every single person can do that. Do we agree? Here's also what every single person can do. There's another one up here that's super easy to find. Does anybody know which one up here is super easy to find? Should happen just like that. Why is angle A easy to find? All angles of a triangle add to 180. So you take out your calculator. You turn it on. And you take 180. You subtract 90 from it, and you subtract 32 from it. And we get 58 degrees. Everybody should be able to come up with the 58. If you don't, you're not trying hard enough. The next part is where you can legitimately make mistakes. Colby, would you like to find A or B? You make a choice here. It's up to you. This is where I can't tell you what to do. You guys have to decide. Do you want to find A or B? Up to you. B. Colby would like to find B, and he's given side C. You guys tell me. This is the hypotenuse. B from 32. Is that the opposite or the adjacent? Opposite. How about A? Adjacent. So if he's looking for the opposite and he's going to find and he has the hypotenuse, does he want to use sine, cosine, or tangent? Opposite, hypotenuse. Opposite, hypotenuse. Which one? Sine. So he sets this up. He says the sine of 32 degrees is equal to opposite B divided by 8. Everybody okay? Awesome. Right over 1, cross multiply. What's 1 times B? B. Then I take 8 times the sine of 32. We got to make sure your calculators are all set to go. For those of you who have a calculator like this, if you go into mode, you have to be working in degrees, not radians. Make sure you're working in degrees. Your calculator defaults to radians. I take 8 times the sine of 32. I get 4.24. Is that an angle measurement or is it a length? Which one? It's a length. B is 4.24. I'm now going to find A. A is the adjacent side. Adjacent and hypotenuse. Which trigonometric function do I use? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Cosine. Cosine of 32 is equal to A over 8. Cross multiply. 8 times 1, A. 8 times the cosine of 32, 6.78. Does anybody know another way I could have found 6.78 without using cosine? Pythagorean theorem would have worked fine as well. We're going to do one more together. I'm going to let you work on your own. today your focus is going to be on the odd ones. The even ones work out differently, okay? I'm going to do one of your homework problems with you, okay? Okay, I walked you through the first one. You guys help me walk through this one. What do I call this right here? 9 degrees. So which is it, A, B, or C? Okay, you guys get to make the choice, A or B. What do you want? A up here, B down here. Okay. Now what? Okay, 48 degrees, so 48 degrees. What else can I write down? Side A is 20. Angle C, 90. So if A is 20, which one do I mark as 20 up here? The left, the right, or the bottom? Bottom. So what's the left? B. What's the right? C. You take it away. What do I find? This is a must. What's the easiest one to come up with? B? How do we find B? All these add up to 180. Great. Got it. It's 42. Jake, do you want to find B or C? B? Awesome. Jake wants to find B, and he knows that A is 20. Sine, cosine, or tangent. Which one is it? Tangent. Tangent of 48 equals 20 over B. Write it over 1 and cross multiply. Notice this is different. Now the variable's in the denominator. 1 times 20 is 20. Equals B times a tangent of 48. How do I solve for B? What do I do to both sides? Divide by? Divide both sides by the tangent of 48. So we take out our calculator, and we take 20, and we divide by the tangent of 48. 18.01. Now I want to find C, sine, cosine, or tangent. Hypotenuse is the opposite, so I have to use sine. Sine of 48 equals 20 over C. Write it over 1 and cross multiply. 1 times 20 is 20 equals C times the sine of 48. Divide both sides by the sine of 48. $26.91. I'm going to let you guys work on, so you have on the front here, you can see that you have one more problem, and on the back, you have 4 more, okay? Tomorrow, I'm going to show you how to do the ones on the right-hand side. But I want to show you one way to check to see if your answer is reasonable. Which is the biggest angle, A, B, or C? C. Notice how that's the biggest side. What's the smallest angle? B. Notice how B is the smallest side. Notice how A is the angle that's in the middle between 42 and 90. 20 is between 18 and 26. The sides should match up in order with the angles. Okay, those should match up. All right, I'll post the answer key. Make sure you try one and check to see if you got it right, okay?